Morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 159. And this is going to be a lessons from the worst day in history. So, how does a simple podcaster produce a Good Friday podcast? And how can the weight of the day be felt? Well, the way I'm going to try to approach this is let's look at those who already have felt its weight. Now, in general, all roads of Christianity lead through the suffering and the death and the resurrection of Jesus. So either this stuff is true, or we are the most deceived and the most to be pitied. So as we face the reality of Good Friday, which is the suffering and death of Jesus, I think it's helpful to remember those who were there and appreciate what they learned. All right, so I'm just going to kind of run through. I'm just going to start with Pilate. So what we judge and how we judge Jesus is ultimately how we are judged. And so Pilate is sitting not on the judgment seat of Christ, he's sitting on the judgment seat where he's actually judging himself. And don't we all? And that Pilate had an opportunity when he got immediate notification that he was sinning, and he didn't heed it. So we'd best heed that if we get such a message from heaven. And then finally from Pilate, that every day is not going to be a day of liberty to decide to receive Jesus in faith. But the good news is today is, so decide today. All right, from the mockers. So they're mocking Jesus and telling the King of Kings that he's not their king. And they're telling the King of the world that he's not king of their world. And that's sobering, and certainly I want to watch my idle words. And then from Barabbas. So they chose this guy who breaks the Ten Commandments rather than the one who wrote the Ten Commandments. And Barabbas receives undeserved mercy so that you and I could receive undeserved mercy. So Jesus is the one who has to pay this undeserved penalty so that you and I could get off without penalty. Okay, let's look through Peter. So Peter, that eventually the rooster crows for all of us. So our behavior, our faith, our words are being seen and evaluated. And though Peter starts poorly, he gets this right in the end, and he gets repentance right. From Joseph of Arimathea, his message was take courage and go. From Nicodemus, that if today is the day to be born again, the Spirit's going to help you. The wind is going to blow. You're going to have a wind assist for all those who come to the cross with repentance and faith. From the women at the cross, and specifically Mary Magdalene, just the faithfulness in her ministry. From the centurion, his big lesson was, don't let this crucifixion go unnoticed. So what will you do after you look at the cross? Spend some time. He's the one that comes to the crucifixion, and he changes his mind. Though this isn't a person, it's a psalm, Psalm 22, we learned from the words of Jesus that this suffering servant, he's not despised, he's not abhorred. The Father's face was not hidden from him. And then I want to spend a special amount of time on the thief of the cross. This is from Luke 23, verse 39. One of the criminals who was hanged railed at him, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself and us." But the other, the good thief, rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly." Listen to that. He says, we're justly condemned, for we are receiving the due rewards for our deeds. But this man, Jesus, has done nothing wrong. And he said to him, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus said to him, "Truly I say to you, today you will be with me in paradise." So the thief on the cross, the guy that turns out to be the good thief, he says to the other thief, "Fear God. How can you not? We're dying here. No one in history ever got off the cross successfully. The Romans are good at this. We're hours from death here." And he rightly notes that there is a payment necessary for sin. And he says that I am justly the one who should be paying it. It is right for me to pay this penalty. I deserve this. So a guy on the cross says, I deserve this, because sin has a consequence, and he realizes that. I think he comes to grip with what sin is. So it's just that I am on this cross, and I should be on this cross. I am due this punishment in this world and the next. And because he says to the other guy, he says, and we indeed justly, for we are receiving the due reward, the just reward for our deeds. So he acknowledges then the holiness of God. He says, this man has done nothing, God. And he acknowledges the sinfulness of himself. So he says, I am due the punishment of God. I am going to need some help at the judgment seat. And so to help with that moment in time, he asks Jesus, when you come into your heavenly kingdom, in your right judgment, in your throne of judgment, remember me. Not because I have earned it, for you know that I don't, but because of you. Remember me, not because of my righteousness, but because of your righteousness. Remember me because I agree with you in this, that I deserve punishment, and that sin has a consequence, and remember me that my sins may be paid for by your suffering. So as you pay the penalty for the sins of mankind, this big thing, include me. Make me a part of this divine substitution that is going on at the cross. So I want to be a part of what you're doing on this cross, which is innocent is substituted for the guilty. So from the thief, we learn that heaven is immediate and paradise and being with him. That it is my sin that I must associate with his suffering, and that I deserve the penalty that he innocently bore. So if that's the only thing you knew about death, that today you will be with me in paradise, it's enough. So I thank you this morning for joining me and all these characters that are at the cross in some way or another, as we think of the goodness of the good one on this Good Friday. Thank you for listening.